Yeah, we were sitting on the other side.
All right. I'm going to call the 17th meeting of the 13th Undergraduate Senate to order. I will begin by calling roll. Senator Colchonero. Senator Pintar. Here. Senator Hawk. Here. Senator Demisay. Here. Senator Dantzler. Here by proxy. Senator Burgess. Here. Senator Meekum. Here. Senator Chen. Here. Senator Adams. Senator Polinsky. Present. Senator Najafi. Here. Senator Koshman. Here. Senator Fryer. Here. Senator Kenna. Senator Martine. Here. Senator Morrow. Here. Senator Zitzman. Here. Senator O'Connor. Senator DeGose. Here. Senator Rakowski. Here. Senator Roberts. Senator Legitimacy. Senator Agdepa. Here. Senator Robbins. Here. Okay, quorum is met. We'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Senator Zitzman.
Can we move the directive to the end of old business because it refers to the adoption of a bill that's in old business?
Yeah. Other discussion. Senator Hawk.
Can I move them as we agenda to add a report to the finance?
Okay. Where?
Or subsection C under report.
Other discussion on the agenda. Seeing none, will be adopted without objection. Moving to the adoption of the minutes from the 16th meeting. Discussion on the minutes. Seeing none, they'll be adopted without objection. Moving to reports from officers. First, the President-elect Fernandez.
Hi, I'm going to keep it short. I know we have a lot of things to do, but for the sake of transparency, I kind of just wanted to share a little bit about kind of what the application process looked like for the candidates that you will all hopefully be confirming today. So I received a lot of applications, and not all applicants received an interview, but really high quality pool. As far as interviews were concerned, all of the candidates received the same set of questions. Some of the questions were things I came up with myself, but also I talked to people that had held the role before to ask very specific questions related to the role to ensure that they're able to fully understand what the role entails and are able to have a clear vision as to where they're headed. Then for the second round, I created a memo assignment and I basically gave all of the candidates different scenarios specific to their roles. So the chief of staff had a scenario, DI had one, and then Case had one. They were pretty much the same, but it was regarding, you find out, you open your social media and you see that certain posts are surfacing the web. This is what you see. Describe in a one-page memo how you would approach telling the president, what you would advise the president to do, what actions you would suggest, or something like along those lines. Really, everyone submitted really great, high-quality memos, and the way I'm kind of using that now is for the people that were confirmed, kind of deciphering that and talking through what things I would have liked maybe differently according to the way my work style is and things like that. I sent out all of my decisions yesterday, and I still have 2 open positions, which is the community service chair if it does get passed today through Senate, which hopefully it will, and then the academic excellence position, which a lot of people have already applied to. But if you do know of people that are interested in those roles, definitely encourage them to apply. I'm hoping to have them filled by the end of the semester, but if not, during the first week. And then for the summer, I will be here up until June 15th. So if you're around campus, just let me know. I know this transition is kind of rushed in some ways. But I'd love to like start getting to know all of you on a one-on-one basis. Facebook message me, happy to give my phone number, whatever it is, and let's get to work together.
Questions for President-elect? Seeing none. All right. I'm going to quickly move back to public comment because I skipped over that accidentally. Any member of the public wishing to speak at this time? All right. Seeing none. We'll move to the report from Case Director Mascaro.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to take my sweet time. In the meantime, if the senator wouldn't mind making a motion to provide me with just 10 minutes, I think I'm going to be under. I think I'm going to be 5, to be honest. My caller. Oh, thank you, Mulan.
Senator Polinsky.
Motion to extend time on definitely.
I'm going to rule that dilatory. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of allowing a 10-minute report from Director Mascaro, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. I even wrote them out to make it kind of my remarks out to make it clear, try to time it to 5 minutes so that we can get on with the more important business. But I did think it was important, given that today is the last regularly scheduled meeting of the Senate for this year. I thought it was appropriate to take the opportunity to provide both the Senate and the student body with a year-end review of the work in progress of the Center for Advocacy and Student Equity. This year, our mission was simple: to improve the lives of every student through quality service and innovative advocacy projects. Looking back over the past year, I can say with confidence that we have succeeded in realizing that mission. As of today, CASE advocates have assisted 102 students over the course of the spring semester, bringing the total number of students helped this year to over 200. As we speak, CASE has 14 active cases, all of which have been assigned to an advocate and are being processed. The student government bylaws vest responsibility for advocacy relating to university policy and procedures with CASE, a fact that had been forgotten by some of my predecessors. This year was our opportunity to set the record straight and to show students that they can and should expect more out of CASE. Over the past year, we launched CASE Connect, authored a report on reforms to the Academic Integrity Code, and worked with the university to create a standalone form to report campus hate crimes. Refusing to remain comfortable with the status quo, we expanded our advocate services to include disability grievances, bias-related incidents, and financial aid appeals. And of course, just last month, we completed the first stage of implementation of our flagship project, the Student Rights Card. Throughout all of this, our team at CASE has worked relentlessly to establish a new normal when it comes to student rights at American University. 2 years ago, when I first became director, the state of both CASE and student rights on American University were bleak. Our office had been closed for months, very few students knew what we did, and even fewer had ever worked with an advocate. Today, our office is open 7 days a week. More students than ever before know to turn to CASE when they need help, and our staff of over 40 people ensures that no student who needs help is turned away. Today, student rights are no longer just vague and intangible values discussed every SG election season. Today, they are real and tangible guarantees that more and more students are coming to expect and demand. That shift in thinking is a victory that I cannot take credit for. In truth, it is the army of trained, passionate, and unbelievably hardworking CASE advocates that have turned what was once a dream into reality. The Conduct Code guarantees every student the right to an advisor, but finding and acquiring that advisor is up to the individual student. Because of the CASE advocates, what was once just a line in the Conduct Code has been actualized into a guarantee that every student can now rely upon. I am exceptionally lucky to have served as their director, and I'm endlessly thankful for the work that they do every day to make sure that CASE is up and running. I will always be eternally thankful to our president, Yami Payano, for her steadfast support and genuine belief in both myself and in CASE. She is an example of what it means to be a leader, and I consider myself lucky to have had the opportunity to serve in her cabinet. I would also like to thank all of you in the Senate. Half of my time in student government was spent as a senator, and so I know how important it is that the Senate hold all of us in student government accountable. Thank you for doing just that, for expecting me to work hard, and for supporting CASE along the way. Thank you to our new president, Valentina Fernandez, for the support that she has shown CASE since the minute the election results were announced. I could not be more confident in the work that President Fernandez, her nominee for CASE Director, Sarem Hawk, and all of the new executives will do for students and student rights. Lastly, and most importantly, I am so thankful to To every student who has afforded me the opportunity to serve as your KISS director. At the end of the day, I am answerable to all of you, and my only hope is that I have earned the trust you all have placed in me these past 2 years. Serving as director has been the honor of my AU career. Being able to wake up every day with the opportunity to make life a little better for the students of this university has been a privilege. If I could do it all over again, I would, without changing a thing, the ups and the downs. I've learned so much about this experience, gained so much from this experience, and will never be able to truly express how lucky and humbled I feel. If I could just offer some words of advice before I finish up, they would be this. As a member of student government, or really just as anyone going through life, there will be times when you're popular and times when you're disliked. Times when I can tell you from personal experience it'll happen, like a roller coaster. Times when you succeed and times when you fail. The important thing throughout all of this is to remember that times change. I couldn't be happier with how it was spent. It is my hope that you all will enjoy your time here as much as I did, and that you use your time you have left to make AU a little better for all the students that we all serve. With that, thank you so much. It's been a really great year. And if there are any questions, of course, as always, I'd be happy to take them.
Questions for the director? Senator Rakowski.
It's not a question, I'm going to say it anyway. I just want to thank you for everything that you've done the past 2 years. It's never been easy, like the whole 2 years. It's been pretty difficult, and I know it's been a really hard ride for you. And so thanks for that.
Couldn't
Thanks
get
for
rid of me.
everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Other questions? Senator Koshman.
Yeah.
First off, I like your tie. It's very floral.
Thank you, Ben. I'm ready for spring.
Yeah, I'm glad. Really, I can see it. You're glowing.
I'm glowing. Thank you.
I just want to give. Don't worry.
It's that spring glow.
Don't worry.
It's that I'm done glow.
Just to echo Senator Rakowski's point, just want to give a big shout out to Will. Not just everything that he's done in case, but just everyone that he's brought into student government. I think that's something we really need to recognize. Like me personally, like tons of people that are rising sophomores, like freshmen this year. I think he just made like student government a much more inclusive and fun place to be in, kind of reversing the stigma that student government is not really for the students. I think he's really emblematic of the fact that there are people in student government that actually do care about the students and are willing to go to bat for them every day. So thank you, Will, for a wonderful 2 years of many fun and often crazy memories. And we're excited to carry on the work that you started.
Thank you. You're the best. Thank you, guys.
All right, moving on to DI Director Sestero.
I cannot promise this is going to be short. Sorry.
Senator Polinsky. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm hearing a second. All those in favor of extending to 10 minutes, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay.
Can you put up the PowerPoint instead?
Ooh, yes.
And then if you all want to go, the report is on a link. It's tinyurl.com/AUSG diversity. It says default report because it just happened. Okay, here we go. The moment we've all been waiting for. For the people who don't know, I believe most of you do, on February 18th, 2018, the American University Undergraduate Senate proposed a bill, 17-18-020, which would mandate the AUSG Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to administer an annual assessment of the diversity of the student government. So this assessment is here, 97 responses, which, as we don't have a recorded number of how many people are in AUSG, my rough estimate is that it is over 2/3 of the AUSG population, which is a very good survey size. And so just so we can go over the method, this assessment was mandated by AUSG Undergraduate Senate. The bill administered me as the administrator. The survey was created with the review of a committee of the advisors of student activities, director of KPU, director of women's initiative, director of CASE, director of sub, director of founders, chair of JSEP, and the speaker of the Undergraduate Senate, who all reviewed the survey before it went out for a 2-week period of collection. And that 2-week period was from April 9th to April 23rd. After that 2-week period of collection, the director, myself, had till the final Senate meeting today, so a 2-week period as well, April 29th, to compile the data and complete a report. That report is now going in the process with Secretary Snyder of being published on the website and then published on social media to the AU public and student body, as well as being reported to you now. So to start, we'll get started with the thing. The Undergraduate Senate had 34, I believe, 34 responses, 4 from the Executive Board, 3 from the President's Cabinet, 9 from Student Union Board, 17 from KPU, 12 from WI, 2 from Founders, and 3 from the J Board, 7 not listed because that was other people's cabinets. So good turnout of numbers. We can move on. Okay, so this is, yep, next. It's just a number breakdown. Okay, next. Yes, this one. So there's number of schools. So this is where we start analyzing a little bit of the data. So we are over proportionately represented by students from the School of Public Affairs, which inherently would make sense since we're a governing body, and that is the School of Government. But what I will say is that in terms of diversity, one of the things that we can look at is how do we better empower and encourage people from other schools to be a part of student government. Because I think in order for the student government to collectively understand the complete struggles and issues that happen on campus, it needs to be an inclusive view of all schools, all majors, and kind of all students. So that's the first thing of where, one of the points where we can look at kind of improving on some of the things we've seen. So 36% is public affairs, College of Arts and Sciences 18, and I think this body aids in bringing up the numbers from the other schools. Credit hours, this is a spot where AUSG did very well. The credit hours was pretty equally distributed. 26 were seniors, 27 were juniors, 24 were sophomore, 20 were freshmen. So a little disparity among freshmen, but overall on a general scale of things, the equality among grade level is pretty well done. And I think that allows us to really understand the struggles on all levels of our classes. We can move on. I'm gonna keep it short. You can read the full report, which has all my takeaways, a whole description and everything, but I don't wanna waste too much time. This is age, just overwhelmingly 19 and 20, but otherwise that's where we are. Now we're gonna get into this is where we're gonna get nitty gritty. Okay, I'm just gonna read because I don't know all these numbers. As can be seen from the data above, 48.89% of student government is white/Caucasian, leaving 51.11% of the student government is people of color or mixed race. This number is compared to 34% of the students university-wide being students of color. So as we see, now it is a notion and people have thought that AUSG is not a diverse body. But as this data shows, that AUSG is a more diverse body than the university itself. So applaud yourself on that. Now, it's a more diverse body. That does not mean it's an inclusive body to that diversity. But we'll look at a little bit of a breakdown of kind of the representation among student government. We are over proportionally represented by there's over proportionally number of African Americans. So that there is 15.56% of the student government versus a 9.3% university-wide. And that is shown also in terms of other minorities. So in the Latino and Hispanic category, AUSG is comprised of 10%. University-wide, Latino and Hispanics count for 13.6% of the university population. And then following that, additionally, we actually have more, as a representative body, we have 12.22% of Asian/Pacific Islanders, with the university-wide only being 6.5%. And so what my first takeaway was, I was impressed by the diversity that was shown from the survey, having the same kind of notion that we're not a diverse body, but that is not actually factually correct. That being said, my takeaway was, let's make sure we continue to think about this because we can easily get lax. And let's also now kind of think, we know the numbers, let's kind of think how we become more inclusive of those people and of that diversity that we have, because I know, hearing from people, that being a diverse student or a person of, a marginalized or underrepresented community in AUSG can be difficult. And being one myself, so let's kind of move on and kind of think about, okay, well, the numbers might be there, but now let's kind of look at, what do we have in place, what policies do we have in place, what kind of culture do we have in place in order to be more inclusive of all of those kind of minorities and people that we have among SG. So we'll move on. Go from the positive, we're gonna get right back down to the negative, sorry. AUSG only has 2 international students in its body. And that accounts for about 2.22% of the population as a whole. The university as a whole has 11% of its student body as international students. So I think, for me, I will note that says 3.3%. One of the responses to this was not valid. So the way they filled out the survey was just not valid. So they actually aren't international. Well, at least they put they're from Wakanda. So that was where they're from. So it was the only one that wasn't professionally submitted. But otherwise, I think, to me, this was the biggest point of contention. One of the biggest points of contention was that as a body, we are not representative, or we do not have representatives that represent the international community. And I think that as we move towards a more inclusive campus, it is something that we really need to work towards, and something that I'll be working towards hopefully next year if the Senate confirms me today. Because I think international students, having conversations with international students, don't feel they have a place in student government. Don't feel that they understand the culture of student government, they understand all of that. So I think we need to make sure that we are empowering and reaching out to those international students to make sure that they know they are welcome in this body and they are welcome to participate in the governing that we do here. So I think that is the next step in terms of that. And I'm wholeheartedly wanting to work with the Undergraduate Senate on how we empower more students to run for these positions and other positions in general. Yep, there you go. Wakanda, and then the other 2 are Nigeria and Yugoslavia. And then now we're gonna go next. Okay, it's really hard to read, but on the report it's easier. But religion. We asked about religion. When I asked about religion, I reached out to Mark, who is the university chaplain, to get his list of all the religions that he has on AU, that he has marked as religions on AU, and then we added a not listed. And in terms of reporting the data, in SG, the overwhelming representation of religious identity is Christian, with the other peaks being Jewish and, let's see, the other peaks being Jewish, and then a few, where's the other one? I'm trying to get there, hold on. Atheist and agnostic were also high up there. But I think what the real takeaway for me was that we don't necessarily, when we think of diversity, equity, inclusion, think of religion and religious affiliation. And I think starting to think about religious identity as part of not just a practice, but as a culture and as how we live and how people live and how people identify is something that we need to kind of move forward on. And kind of think about, when we're thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion on this campus, are people of varying religious backgrounds and identity feeling included on this campus? I know there's a bill regarding anti-Semitism coming up to this chamber today, and I think the feedback that I got after that event happened was no. There are religious identity groups on this campus who do not feel included. And I think that, to me, if I come and I feel that any group is not feeling included on this campus, it's work that needs to be done. And it's important work that needs to be done. So I think knowing that as a body, we can think about this, we can understand this, and kind of put this in the back of our minds when we're thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion is a huge step in the right direction. And then also going and making sure and talking with those communities, knowing and understanding their concerns. There are people who want to talk and who want to express what their communities are feeling. So moving on. The next is sexual orientation. So this was a written in category, so I don't have specific numbers for you because we wanted to give people the ability to identify with any sexual orientation they wanted and not classify it. But from the data, as you can see as it scrolled through, there is a pretty wide array of sexual orientations within AUSG. Now I think, what I think is, while a wide array is not necessarily the right thing, there is some diversity in our sexual orientation. Now I think also, similarly to religion, I don't think necessarily we think about this when we think about diversity, equity, inclusion. And I think we have to begin to think about how do we have conversations about that on this campus? How do we facilitate conversations among this body about what are the struggles that those, yes?
Time for reporting has elapsed. Senator Zitzman.
I know that you object to this motion, but I would move to extend Raphael's time indefinitely, because I don't know how much time will be required, and I don't want to do another motion in a few minutes.
How much more do you think
I
you
think
have?
there's only one more after this and I conclude, so 5 minutes.
Could you amend it to 10 minutes?
All right.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay.
Okay, so just kind of thinking about sexual orientation as, again, another facet of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making sure we're aware that that is there and that we should be having conversations and learning and understanding about these different sexual orientations. Next is gender expression. So this one is predominantly dominated by cisgender, so male and female. And I think this question brings up the same kind of things. I think this survey in general brings to people's minds the many facets of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I think now some work needs to be done on understanding maybe why this is. How do we empower more people of non-cisgender expressions to feel comfortable joining this community and participating in the governing of this body? And then more work on how, if there are people of non-cisgender expressions in this body, which there are, being inclusive to them within this body as well. Making sure that when conversations around those things are happening, and they should be happening, that those people are included in those conversations because they have those experiences and they know the struggles / issues that are belong to that community. So that is all the data, besides the fact that I asked if people wanted to be interested, and there's an overwhelming majority of interest in helping further diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I think is great. But I think overall, the conclusion on this is, I will read you what I wrote. The director would first like to commend the student government for their continued understanding of the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think this legislation that was passed and this survey is crucial. I think it's the first step in really aligning ourselves with the universities moving forward on inclusive and inclusive excellence. And I think annually now we can take this data and we can begin to do some of the real grunt work on, working with this data, understanding and internalizing what this means, and working to fix those problems that we see, and also working to highlight the positives that we see from this data as well. And then just finally, encourage you to continue all of this work that you're doing. Don't let up, and we can so easily go back to a status quo. And let's keep moving in a forward direction towards inclusive excellence. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Questions for the director, Senator Zitzman.
So on the gender expression category, I took the survey, but I don't remember the exactly how the question was put. So can you tell us whether you have any way of telling, like, for example, when someone answers man or woman, whether they are indicating cis man or cis woman versus trans man or trans woman? Because that might impact the representation of trans people in those surveys.
That's a good question. The question was worded, I'll just tell you how the question was, please indicate your gender expression, in parentheses examples, man, woman, transgender, comma, etc. It was open-ended. They could write whatever they wanted. So I don't have any way of identifying whether they're talking about trans woman or trans male, but I don't have any way of identifying that.
Senator Dancer's proxy.
Did you do any work to look at the difference between Jewish as a religion and Jewish as an ethnicity?
So I have not currently. The question was under the question. I'm just going to go back. I forget how it was worded. Which tradition or religious religion with you identify primarily? And so I have not done any work currently as identifying Jewish and all those other religions as an ethnicity, because I think that's something that I have currently been learning about. So I am happy to continue that kind of work and looking at, where the numbers lie and what the difference is between, identifying as a religion and identifying.
Senator Hawk.
Thank you. So first off, thank you for making this report. I really like it. Really nicely puts everything in a visual perspective. My question is, so you stressed the sort of religious disparity between the how diverse AUSG is, and like you might not have the answer to this right now, but how do you think we could sort of reconcile that, because it looks like there's quite a lot of different religions and types of religions?
Yeah, so I think working with our partners at K Spiritual Life and the other organizations that we have on campus, the student organizations of those religions, to kind of have conversations with them about, are their members interested in participating in student government? And if they are, why aren't they here? If they're not interested, why are they not interested? To kind of understand what their concerns are about joining. And then also just making sure, while we cannot be, and I will say this, we cannot be fully representative of every person on this campus. But opening up conversations and facilitating conversations, that's the way we can legislate more inclusively. So I think having conversations with those groups, and then also just talking about why they feel there's not representation of those people in this sheet.
Senator DeGose.
Yeah, so I also want to start by just commending this report. I think it's very well put together and definitely something that's good to have for the Senate. Sort of two questions. One of the first things that you stressed was the diversity in terms of school population in
Fortunately, I did not have time to do a deep dig because everyone in the administration is really busy right now. Those numbers I could not find publicly anywhere of the number of people and / the percentages of who's in what school versus the wide student body population. But I'd be happy to follow up on that and kind of talk to either the provost when he comes in or the acting provost now about what the numbers are that they have and how that relates to our numbers.
Okay, and the second one was you had also looked at and highlighted the lack of international student representation in AUSG, and your statistic for the population of international students in AU as a whole, how much of those are like permanent international students, like here for the full years, and how many are ones that are just here for a year and maybe they're not as involved because they're only here for a year and therefore don't want to focus on AUSG? That's
a good question. I believe that was the University Climate Survey. I believe that survey was given out to only full-time students, or that number includes only full-time students. I'm not 100% sure. I can follow up on that. But yes, I believe that is full-time students. Yeah.
Senator Zitzman.
So first, the proportion of students in each school, just distributionally, that is in a report about by the Office of Institutional Research.
Is it?
Got that up on the email to you.
Perfect.
Then my question is, are there any efforts underway, or are you thinking about any way that you might publicize this data, or do you think you're just going to keep it for internal use?
No, it's, as I said at the beginning, it is, Chris is in the process of putting on the website, and then we're gonna make social media posts about this being public. And I'll also have them send out an email to university-wide.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the important part about this. It's not necessarily just us knowing it, but university body.
President Fernandez.
Yeah, thank you for taking time to read this. I think that's a cool, it's a good start. I think it lacks a lot of statistical analysis even within the report. I don't know if the way we're approaching the conversations beyond race are adequate really. And even with race, I'm just scared that like this may be like a pat yourself in the back type of report in so many ways. I know that's not the intention, but I just think we need to be very careful what line we're drawing here. I think given some of the gaps that I see in sort of the way the questions were asked, the way it's being presented, how can we make sure that when this is done again next year, if it is done, or however, like whatever it is that you're doing, that the way we ask questions is like sort of more formal in the way survey protocol works and the way we analyze it and in the way we present it. And how do we make sure that the questions that are being asked are more encompassing the identities that are on a campus, such as like the Jewish like difference that like Steph pointed out, like things like that. I just feel like it's kind of narrow. I don't really think this is helpful. That's the first set of questions. And then second, given what you know, what do you think is the most concerning thing out of this entire thing? / what are like some actual things that can happen after this report? Because I don't think the report really does anything if we just like publicize it and do that information.
So just touch on your first question. I think to talk about you saying it's too narrow, I think that's part of the problem when trying to formalize it and push it towards being comparisonable to other statistical research and making it statistically correct. I had conversations with the director of the Office of, of Institutional Research and Data, and this is some of the way I worded some of the questions was the advice from her. I also had conversations with Sarah Benderitis and CDI about how we can push out the survey, but one of the things about pushing out the survey is I don't want to push out a diversity survey that's not inclusive. So if I narrow categories in terms of gender expression, I don't allow someone to list their proper gender expression, is that being inclusive to that student? So it is striking and finding that balance between being able to compare it to statistical research that we already have now, but also making sure that we're inclusive of everyone and allowing people to answer the way they identify. And then to speak to your second point, I think what I would love to do with this data now is then coming back in the fall or beginning this over the summer is put together a group from all areas of SG to kind of look at this data, kind of a working group to look at this data and understand what this data means for their specific department, and then talk about action items that we can move forward on in our individual departments. Because while I am an overarching in the presidential, the role is overarching in the president's cabinet, I don't necessarily have as much of an influence in other departments as people within those departments do. So I think that would be the first step in kind of putting together a group that can really tackle all of the action steps that need to happen individually among the areas. And then in terms of campus-wide, love to kind of host a forum for people to ask questions just like this about the report and about what this report means. And then also beginning to have conversations with the communities that we see are less represented in this report.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Just really quick, I'll probably move most of my reports to go to the order. Everyone should have gotten an email campus-wide from me yesterday about the two things that we're hosting tomorrow. The ice cream social during the day from 1:30 to 4 between us, the executive board, and AUCC. I want to thank AUCC for really spearheading that and giving getting the idea together. Being able to engage with our constituents and talk about the referendum and things like that. And if you saw also in the email, it talked about tomorrow night as a public forum that we're hosting from 7 to 9 in Don Myers. I really encourage senators to participate because the first half an hour is about your updates on what you've done during your time in the Senate. So hopefully I'm not the only one there talking to other people. And then there will be no official office hours this week because finals are starting. And as an update, Senate will probably meet on Friday at I don't know, like 6 or 7 because we need to approve the budget. And in case we need to do any other confirmation hearings, we'll do that there as well. And you'll get more information for that. So please don't make plans beforehand because the budget needs to be passed. And it's the reason why it's occurring is because BAC isn't meeting until Friday. So we won't know our allocation numbers until then. Those are all the updates I have right now. Questions for me? Okay. Moving on to reports from committees. First to the Committee on Campus and Student Life.
So I have mentioned it before during CRP, but we had a meeting on Thursday night. And just first off, I want to give a huge shout out. I know I thank her a lot already, but Steph has spearheaded this effort. She brought forth this bill to us, and if it wasn't for her effort, and she's even taking a new position in CDI, which is super great. None of this would be happening. So I want to thank her. Our bill kind of talked about. We just edited the bill very slightly just to kind of make the training a bit more specific. But ultimately, we're going to have a trial period of this training that she's going to work on, and she's going to work on with CDI in order to make this training really comprehensive. And we're going to basically have senators get trained once a semester in order for them to continue to have that training. And we know that there's this continual turnover of senators, so that's why we're going to do it once a semester. It's going to be coordinated with whoever is going to be the DEI director, probably Raphael, and that's what our directive is later. So I hope everyone can pass it. And I just really want to thank Steph again for everything that she did to bring this forward. I hope that more people from the public continue to work with us and that we can continue to be transparent. And I hope that the process was really thorough for her. So yeah.
Questions for the chair? All right, seeing none, we'll move to the Committee on Rules and Privilege. So as you see, all the confirmations that are on the agenda were all unanimously recommended to full Senate for everyone to consider, and as well as Bill 037, which moves the Community Service Coalition to the President's Cabinet. That was also recommended. No amendments were made there. While I'm reporting on CRP, I will make note that for when we move back into confirmations for all of our nominees here, I'll give you a slight tap just as a warning for a 10-15 second mark before time's up. And also to the membership, the CRP already did questions, but that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to question people. These are directors that will be serving in the role for a whole year, so be sure to ask questions that you want answered and that you feel confident enough to confirm them today. Questions for CRP? Seeing none, we'll move to the Special Committee on Finance.
Yeah, so I don't want to be redundant. It's basically everything Trevor said about that meeting on Friday. It's fine, and us hopefully getting to pass the budget that evening or night. But I will add that the Finance Committee has had a couple of meetings, so we do have sort of a preliminary judgment as to how we want to allocate the money. And so after that meets, hopefully we can just adjust with the actual numbers, but not have to do too much deliberation.
All right, questions for the chair? Seeing none, we'll move into new business. First, the confirmation of Madison Dalton to be the Chief of Staff.
All right, Senators. So I have a memo for all of you. I don't have enough for everyone, so you're going to have to share. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm assuming everyone does. Oh, yeah, that just pass it down, share it. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Oh.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so first off, I just want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for the past year of work that you've all done. You guys don't get enough credit, but everyone does really appreciate it. A lot of behind the scenes work I know goes in. So about myself, my name is Madison Dalton. I'm a freshman, Clegg major from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And as you can see, I made quite a detailed memo for you all just to kind of clarify the role of chief of staff as what I envision it to be. Chief of staff is kind of something that's nuanced, and we aren't really sure exactly what are they supposed to do, where are their responsibilities held. So I wanted to give you a clear guideline of what I'm looking to do in the next year. So 3 major pillars that I want to guide the chief of staff role under are communication, transparency, and acting as a soundboard for the president. I'm determined to build genuine relationships with all of you, as well as the speaker and other organizations such as AUCC, in order to have that transparent communication, because you can't do that without genuine connections with people. My leadership style is something that I'd consider to be very straight to the point, very forward. However, I understand that that isn't the leadership style that everyone needs. I'm willing to be adaptable and change with my the rest of the executive board, as well as the needs of the senators, in order that we are able to be productive and move forward effectively. So background on why I applied for the position. I'm just really dedicated to the pillars of Valentina's platform. I'm really in support of her pillars of academic excellence, inclusion and safety, and financial security. There's something that I believe wholeheartedly in, and I wanted to make a presence in student government in this way by being her chief of staff. On campus, I've been involved with the NAACP, the Kennedy Political Union, as well as AU College Democrats, which is how I met Val actually through the Donkey and Full Mentorship Program. So through that program, I was able to get to know Val and her passion and our similar drive for excellence. And I believe that we can work together and be a really good team and a good, strong foundation for student government, in order that we have transparent communication and we're a united front going to the rest of the student body to propose new initiatives for next year. So take some time, read my chief of staff vision, ask me any questions at all. That's why I'm here.
Questions for the nominee, Senator O'Connor.
So you said you had done work with KP.
Yes.
What sort of experience do you have, including KP, that you think like directly translates into this role?
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So I'll talk about 2 experiences, one in KPU and one outside of KPU. So my role in KPU is a freshman fellow, which means I'm kind of a new man on the team. As a freshman, I'm watching what everyone does. I'm following the different roles, but I work most closely with the director of internal management. And in that position, I kind of got the opportunity to spearhead an event with John Lewis, who came to speak. And I coordinated this event with the Intercultural Greek Council, or Greek Collective, which is a body of cultural Greek orgs on campus and citywide chapters. So I think that experience really allowed me to learn how to manage not only my own team, but people outside of my team that I wasn't familiar with, that I had met the day of the event. So learning how to manage people, as well as being adaptable to on the ball, on the fly sort of things. And outside of KPU experience, in high school, I actually was a part of an advocacy group for girls, where we actually wrote a bill proposing mandatory sex ed in Pennsylvania. So I led a group of 100 girls to our state capitol to propose this. Lobbying throughout the state capitol and organizing a bunch of high school girls is not easy to do, but I was able to do it. And unfortunately, the bill didn't get passed. However, we wrote it. We were able to have a great time and learn a lot of new things. So I think a lot of my skill set is learning how to work with different types of people and moving forward and being effective in doing that.
Other questions? Seeing none. Thank you. If you mind leaving the room. Discussion, Senator Robbins.
She seems excellent, really well prepared. I trust the president if that's who she's picked. So we have a lot to do today. I think we're all in agreement. She seems really great. If there's no objections, I'd like to close debate and accept with unanimous consent nomination for chief of staff.
All right, there's a second. Any objection to confirming Madison Dalton to be the chief of staff? Hearing none. She is confirmed.
It's always me.
Moving on to our next confirmation, to Rafael Cicero to be the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director.
I think I'm really excited to continue the work that's been happening, but also start new conversations around different areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, in terms of disability, in terms of religion, work on continuing the good program that has happened so far in the President Payano administration, and working to continue that good program, but also bringing in different programming and some new kind of ways in which we can kind of think about the issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, working with the Student Advisory Board that is going to be committed for the Commission for the Inclusive Excellence Plan and PCDI, making sure we have full representation of the student body on that committee. And really working towards, in line with the university's goal for inclusive excellence towards the future. So I'm happy to take questions.
Questions for the nominee, Senator Martin.
In your report, you mentioned the need for including international students into the fold.
Yeah.
What is something that you think would be?
Of course. So during the President Payano administration, we've created a strong relationship between AUSG and ISSS, which is the International Scholars and Student Services group. So they're the one who help all the international students with their visas and all the work that goes with that. So working with them on kind of bringing some inclusive programming into AUSG for international students, and then also working with them to facilitate conversations. There's also a student group called ISA, which is the International Student Association, who I am friends with the president on. So working with them to kind of think about what ways they think we can be better talked about that, and then also reaching out to them to co-sponsor events to get them more involved in the programming and the initiatives that we do. Yeah.
Senator Robbins.
What have you learned in your tenure currently in the position, and why do you think that uniquely qualifies you to continue to serve?
Yeah, so I think the major thing I've learned is that there is so much in regard to diversity, equity, inclusion that I did not know going into the role, that I have had conversations about. Stephanie here has enlightened me to many an issue and many a nuance in the Jewish community and the ethnicity, which I continue to fervently read about and kind of try to understand. And then in terms of disabilities, had a few conversations about, I don't know if you guys know the incident that happened with the Autism Speak on Katzen, and kind of the whole breadth of things that we don't know about and that we are unaware of, but being able to listen to those conversations and fully try to learn about what it is and kind of understand it. And that's personally what I've really learned and loved about my tenure, is being able to have those conversations and broaden my perspective on just such a broad area of things. Yeah.
How will that inform your work continue?
Of course. So I think it has allowed me to kind of understand that I need to 100% listen to student voices, because they know what's going on in their community. They know the issues that are there. They know them better than I do. They know them they know the nuance more than I do. So continuing to have those conversations and listen. And also it has built and gained me so many relationships that I find so valuable to the work that I'm doing, that I can continue with those relationships and also have them introduce me to more of the community. Yeah.
Senator Pintar.
So you did mention the controversy with Autism Speaks in Katzen. Would you plan on also speaking with Alpha Xi Delta and those other organizations that put that on, and maybe facilitating a conversation between those two groups?
Yeah, so when the meeting I had with the people about Autism Speaks was with a few, an autistic Meredith, who's on student union board, and two other people, Fanta, the dean, Fanta, VP of Campus Life, the dean of undergraduate students, Dean Waters, and then two professors, and then one of the sexual assault coordinator at AU. And kind of the main thing that we got at was how do we, myself, Fanta, the Dean Waters, facilitate that conversation with AZD and the people who have problems with this to kind of understand both sides of the issue and know where they're coming from both sides, because you can obviously see the reason they're trying to do what they're doing and be philosophical and help underrepresented communities, but just kind of have a conversation about where the tension is, and then also figure out, in terms of what steps can be taken in terms of policy at the university that can maybe stop the broadcasting largely of some controversial issues, and kind of making sure there's a really strong review process of if anything's being broadcasted on buildings, what it is, because Katzen really didn't go through a review process of broadcasting that onto their building. So kind of formalizing and seeing where that is.
But you would agree that it would be unfair if obviously Delta or those other organizations that fundraise for Autism Speaks are not part of this conversation.
Of course. And I think that was one of the big takeaways we took, was that these people with these concerns have not necessarily had those conversations. And I think the first step would be to have those conversations.
Other questions?
I'm Brock.
Yeah, Senator Fryer.
Just real quick. So with regards to student with disabilities, I noticed in the survey there was a gap in kind of including students with disabilities, within student government. Like, what are some of the ideas that you have to sort of galvanize these groups of students to kind of get involved with student government, make it feel like they have a place in it as well?
So I've had some initial conversations with students with disabilities about creating a student org, because there isn't really a student org right now that kind of deals with disabilities as a broad thing, and then having subsections within that group to talk about specific disabilities. But getting that kind of structure, or getting a group together, kind of a focus group, doesn't necessarily need to be a specific student org, but that as a voice of many, you can be much stronger in terms of talking to student government, but also letting them know, and that community know, that my door is wide open to have those conversations, and then I have the platform to bring it to all of you, and also bring them to all of you in terms of Senate and introducing them to the people who are really making change. Yeah, of course.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Discussion. Senator Fryer.
I think he's very qualified. We've seen the kind of work that he's done under the Bayano administration. So I think since we also have a very long list, and I think everyone is in agreement, I move to confirm the candidate by unanimous consent.
Second.
There's a second. Any objection? Hearing none, he is confirmed. Item to the confirmation of Sarem Haq to be the Center for Advocacy and Student Equity Director.
So good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully Trevor sent out my sort of 1 page or 2 pages back in from back. Some more details about things I want to do if you all confirm me. And so I know we all want to get out of here, so I'll just get right into it. I'm honored that Valentina picked me to be the case director. To just jump right into my experience, I've been in case since pretty much even before I even came to AU, because I applied over the summer. It's been a really big part of my experience at AU. It's been like at the center of the things I've done in student government. I've worked on countless numbers of cases, whether it be academic integrity code or conduct or something else. I've also done policy work, whether it be writing or helping write the bias-related incidents edition 2 report, or working on that memo that was recently released about AUPD's authorities and jurisdiction. So I have a lot of experience, and as far as things I want to do, I think there are two facets to it, and obviously I go into more detail on that one pager that I sent all of you. But I think there's the internal part, which is like making sure that case is more efficient and organized. And once that happens, obviously we'll be more in a position to take on a greater caseload, advocate for students in a greater fashion, and just do a lot more good. And I think and that goes into the second facet, which is the external side. Making sure that we can expand our services to more constituencies, and making sure that we can help students with the advocacy that they need in every area of campus life. So obviously, feel free to ask me questions on the specific details of some of the ideas I propose. I hope that you do. And the last thing I'll say, just because I want to keep this brief, is that I really do think that it's important to acknowledge the work that Will has done. I didn't say this in CRP because you weren't here, but I think that the case owes you a lot. I owe you a lot. The Senate owes you a lot, and the AU community as a whole owes you a lot. I hope to be able to follow in your footsteps and do some real effective and massive change for the AU community. Just the simple thank you is really infinitesimal to the work that you've done, but I do think that it's worth saying, and I think that all of us should be extremely and eternally grateful for the work that Director Mascara has done. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Questions for the nominee? Senator Zitzman.
Part of your responsibilities in the fall semester, if you're confirmed, will be to work with the secretary to publicize the new resources that CASE provides under the reform bill that passed in January. So have you given any thought to how you want to go about making sure that students know about new things that CASE provides?
Right. So I think probably the premier venue would be our new tab on the ASG website. We actually have our own tab now. It's not really complete yet, so I think I'll probably work with Alex. I don't see him here, but I've heard that Alex is really great at communications work. It shows in the fact that he was elected to be secretary. So I hope to work with him to make sure that we can update the website, and then I'll obviously ask him for suggestions, since he's more well versed in communication strategy as to how else we can reach the student body.
Other questions, Senator O'Connor?
I know from some experience this takes a huge time. What are your
Right. I mean, you're absolutely right. It is a time commitment, especially with the expected increase in the number of cases we're going to get. As far as my time commitments next semester, I don't right now plan on having really anything else. I've already interned twice this academic year. Obviously I'm going to take, sorry, I just wanted to put that out there. I don't really need to intern for a semester next year. I'm probably going to take around 16 to 17 credits, but that's normal and manageable. And then obviously I'm probably not going to do any work study job because it is a stipended decision.
Senator Zitzman.
Part of Will's main efforts in his 2 years as director has been establishing CASE as something that everyone knows about, kind of as much as the name as KPU is the idea. So have you given any thought to how you're going to continue the effort to make sure that CASE is something that everyone knows about?
Yeah, I've given thought to that, and I think that, again, this goes back to what I was saying about the work that Will has done. He has really, started off as a student advocacy center 2 years ago, and now it's something, as you said, that's recognized throughout campus. I think the way to make sure that we're more known on campus is just, again, expanding our services. So one of the things I put in there was the multilingual services that we could potentially offer and reach more constituencies. And then aside from that, it's just, an upkeep of the communications infrastructure that we have right now. So the website, the social media, making sure that we have qualified and talented people who are in charge of that, I think is just going to go a long way in ensuring that we can continue the work that's already been done.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you won't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee, Senator Robbins.
We all know Saram. We all know that he does more like if there was a word that could go beyond phenomenal, it would be the perfect descriptor to describe the kind of work that Sue does. I can't think of a better person to lead case. He's excellent. We all love him. The only reason you would not vote for him is because you would miss him here in the Senate. So I move that we just close debate and accept with unanimous consent his nomination. We all know he's going to do great.
Second.
There's a second. Any objection? Hearing none, he is confirmed.
I think we should not.
Everyone will clap. Just stare at him.
If the presidential nominees would come down to the floor. I'm gonna swear y'all in, yeah.
Okay.
Should I take pictures?
Yeah. Might as well.
This fit.
Like he's doing all of this.
Yeah, all three. Make this nice and easy. Oh, our comms director, I guess, yeah, we can do that. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Raphael Cicero, do solemnly swear
that I will diligently and faithfully
that I will diligently and faithfully
execute the duties and responsibilities
execute the duties and responsibilities
of the office of, state your office,
of the office of Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion,
that I will abide by the governing documents
that I will abide by the governing documents
of the student government,
of the student government,
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
to promote the interests and welfare
to promote the interests and welfare
of the students of American University.
of the students of American University.
Congratulations. All right. Moving on to the next business items, the confirmation of Chelsea Green to be the Associate Vice President.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Chelsea Green. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a sophomore here at AU studying elementary education with a minor in dance. Other than hoping to be your Associate Vice President, I am an AU ambassador, and I'm also a member of the American University Dance Company, which we just had our performance last week. So after speaking with Leela, it was very apparent that she wanted her Associate Vice President to be organized, supportive, detail-oriented, and very committed. And through my experiences on and off this campus, I feel that I have these characteristics that led her to select me to be her Associate Vice President. So prior to coming to AU, I was the Assistant Director of a dance camp, where I created dances and also created an entire show featuring 90 children and 10 staff members. I'm currently participating in a class with the School of Ed where I have to commit 40 hours of service by the end of the semester at the elementary school in DC. And during my time there, I've been able to get experiences in teaching, as well as managing a class of 19 students. I've made connections with these kids, taught them how to spell, write, and we've also had a dance class, which is a lot of fun. This year, I was selected to be on the AU Ambassador Leaderboard as a programming co-leader with Shadi Nassab. And in this role, Shadi and I worked together to create events for 150 AU ambassadors. This spring semester, Shadi and I created an alumni networking event, provided a headshots event for ambassadors where they could get their headshots for free to use on their LinkedIn and for other things. And also, we helped plan the AU Ambassador Relay for Life. With this role, we've worked with other organizations and groups, including Alpha Phi Omega with their Spring Youth Service Day, as well as AU Alum. Our favorite AU alum right now is Jackie Boliche. She graduated in 2008. She presented a resume, LinkedIn, and interview workshop, as well as a tour guide improvisation workshop for free for us. So after attending the different program events by AUSG, I've become more and more interested in being a part of that experience. As a woman of color, I love the opportunity to engage with other groups on campus and continue to have more diverse programming that students can attend. As an AU ambassador, I've been reaching out to prospective students by giving tours and hosting them in my room for overnights. And I hope that I can bring my experience from AU ambassadors into AUSG for the entire student body. So I think AUSG is a unique way to engage with students. It can be fresh and responsive to the needs of many students on this campus. Through my experience with AUSG thus far, I've seen how KPU Sub, Women's Initiative, and founders have been able to engage with students in different groups and bring more diversity and access to their programming. Being a part of the VP's cabinet allowed me to support the work of different programs here, thus expanding access and inclusion to different students, especially ones like me. And I want to be a new fresh face too, and a new set of eyes to be a supportive and creative person to help create these great programs for the student body. Leela and I have made a great professional and personal relationship, and we feel that we can work well together to help create events that will reach all different types of students here on this campus. She's put her trust in me, and I hope that you will as well. Thank you.
Questions for the nominee? Seeing none. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving. Discussion. Senator Rakowski.
She's great. I trust Leela. She's, I move to approve by hands.
Second.
There's a second. Any objection to confirming Chelsea Green to be the Associate Vice President? Hearing none, she is confirmed. Moving to our next confirmation to Yazan Hanna, right? Hanuna, damn, I had it. To be the Kennedy Political Union Director.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm sorry to the CRP committee who has to hear me give my same spiel once again, but here we go. Let's do this. So obviously I'm here to give you my pitch about why I'm hoping to be confirmed as the next director of the Kennedy Political Union. But just to give you a little information about myself, my name is Yazan Kanuna. As Trevor said, I'm a sophomore studying political science with minors in SIS and information technology. That's 3 different schools if you're keeping track. I've been in KPU since basically my first week of being at AU for 2 years now. I joined as a support staff in my very first putting my application together during Welcome Week. And then in the course of my freshman year, moved on to be the financial coordinator. And finally this year got the opportunity to serve on our leadership team as a special projects coordinator. And in these various roles, I accomplished things such as like running AU Turbo Vote efforts for 2 years in a row, where we helped register hundreds of people to vote, putting on and assisting in multiple events, taking our support staff program and developing it into a first-year fellowship that I oversaw and did all of the hiring for and managed my own team with, as well as various other things. Outside of my experience within KPU, I've also had the pleasure of serving as the president of the AU College Democrats and president of my fraternity, Pi Kappa Phi. And so those have given me each a unique set of skills and experiences that one kind of give me the institutional knowledge of what it means to be in KPU and how AUSG operates, but also the perspectives and connections of an outsider looking into the organization. I think it's most important for me to kind of talk about what my vision is for KPU and kind of where I want the direction of the organization to go forward. And that kind of operates on 4 key pillars. The first has to do with how unique this upcoming school year is in relation to KPU. It's our 50th anniversary, and on September 16th, we'll be celebrating all the hard work that we've done for 50 years. And so part of that means holding a huge event with an amazing speaker that is really reflective and embodies the spirit of our family and all of the great work that we've done. It also means connecting to our alumni, connecting with the student body, and celebrating the great successes of the organization, and making sure that we're creating a strategic plan to continue KPU's efforts to thrive for the next 50 years to come. The next pillar has to do with diversity and inclusion. If you were at the banquet earlier today, you saw how much progress we've made based off of what Solomon said in terms of diversity, inclusion, and programming. And this is one of Leela's key tenets of what she wants to do as vice president, and something that I would echo also in terms of working with the Inclusive Excellence Plan and Dr. Ah and the Center for Diversity and Inclusion to make sure that we are on top of that in our program. Third has to do with changing the way we do collaboration for a bottom-up approach. Instead of going to groups once we have speakers confirmed and be like, hey, you want to co-sponsor with us? It's working with groups from the very beginning and be like, hey, what are your ideas? What are our ideas? how can we meet in the middle and move upwards to execute on those? Fourth is fundraising and external affairs. So as you know, we are very low in terms of like what our budget is in relation to what the kind of budget was, which I assume every other group also feels the same way, but that's the reality of it. So we are fundraising 90 cents for every dollar that we make, and because costs continue to increase, it is crucial that we build on our connections that we've made this year and build some new ones to continue fundraising in our efforts. Of course, most importantly is that I, as director, build a great team that will help me accomplish these things, because I truly believe you are only as strong as your weakest member. And together, I hope we can kind of work on this vision and create a better one moving forward. So thank you so much for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Questions for the nominee, Senator O'Connor.
So you've been around KP for a while. What's one thing about like the culture or like direction of the organization that you'd like to see change?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So something about the culture specifically is where I'll focus on here, is sometimes KPU has this tendency to be kind of the exclusive AUSG organization. And that's something Shaheen made great strides in this year in terms of like collaborating with other groups such as WI and Sub, so that we put our thoughts and head minds together to put on some great events and speakers in a way that matches both of our goals and visions. So I think I kind of want to continue on that work where we utilize our trainings and utilize the very few beginning months of the school year to not only have these opportunities to kind of strategically plan, but have more social interactions with members of student government, both Senate, both other programming branches, et cetera, in a way where it's not just like, hey, this is how we work together. It'll be more along the lines of like, hey, we're friends, we have a great relationship. Now going forward, we can also work together and put these things together.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room.
Thank you.
Discussion, Senator O'Connor.
I have a lot of friends in KPU, and the universal consensus going is yes, one was like competent, qualified, parts working with an organization, and I have nothing doing it both inside of student government and outside of school.
Other discussion, Senator Fryer?
Yeah, he's been the president of my fraternity. We have been like struggling to kind of like stay afloat, and he's literally the one fighting tooth and nail to literally make sure that we're like, staying on the right path, that, we're doing what we need to be doing, keeping everyone on task. And I think those are all qualities that, we need in a leader, especially in a fraternity that is kind of sinking. So that being said, and with all the amazing qualifications that he has, I move to confirm Yaz to confirm Yaz by unanimous consent.
Second.
I hear a second. Any objection to confirming Yaz for KPU director? Hearing none, he is confirmed. All right, moving to the confirmation of Bisa Sue to be Student Union Board Director.
Okay, so unfortunately, Lisa can't be with us today. She has family in town, and so she wrote this note. Members of the Undergraduate Senate, I apologize for my absence today due to an unexpected family matter. It's been a great pleasure serving as the 2017 through 2018 Director of Sub. In the past year, I was able to plan a Welcome Week concert that sold out under 4 hours and brought over 1,000 people. We were able to bring back movie nights, which is something Sub hasn't done in over 5 years. We were also able to work with 11 student organizations and 3 offices in order to build and rebrand AmFest, a music festival with the goal of building community on campus. In the past year, I've also been able to build relationships with artist agents in numerous facets of the university in order to make Sub events as successful as they are. I hope you will give me the opportunity to build on those relationships and continue to serve the student body as director of Sub. Yeah. So if you have any questions, anything I can answer, I'll try. But she moved through CRP, so that says a lot too.
Any questions that Senator Jaffe might be able to answer? Senator Pintar?
I move to approve her by unanimous.
Second.
Can we close questioning first and then do that? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Now in discussion. Okay.
Second.
There's a motion to approve by unanimous consent, and I hear a second. Is there any objection to confirming Bisa Su to be the Student Union Board Director? Hearing none, she is confirmed. All right, moving to the confirmation of Maureen Smith to be the Women's Initiative Director.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Maureen, for those of you who don't know me. I am a rising senior. I'm a women's gender and sexuality studies major with a second major in CLEG. I have worked with WI for the past 3 years, so I've seen the evolution of our organization up close. I came into WI my first year here at AU with really having a vision for what I saw could be a really great organization. So in my directorship this past year, we've really tripled our programming efforts. We went from roughly 8 programs last year to over 20 programs this year, which is really awesome given the fact that we have a historically underfunded organization. So we really made that work. We've also won several awards this year for various programs, one notably being our Toronto Burke event. With that being said, I find that next year is a really awesome opportunity to put everything that we've done this year into practices and procedures to really make our organization sustainable. Yeah, we did 20 programs, but it's really important that we look at our calendar and really plan out everything in the same fashion that KPU and Sub does to make our programs, the quality of our programs overall stronger. And so basically, the goal is more sustainable WI, expanding our presence on campus and building our brand as an organization. With that, I can open it up to questions.
Questions for the nominee?
Yeah.
What are you going to do to continue to make sure that your organization is intersectional if you are going to be an organization that claims to speak for women?
Yeah, so part of that is like the expanding of positions, which we did last year. So having anti-racism coordinators, having folks that focus on queer and trans inclusivity, and also having folks that are focusing on climate justice and really paying attention to the vast ways that feminism intersects with different identities. On top of that, a lot of our efforts have been to co-sponsor with other organizations and the work that they're doing. We have an open door policy, or at least that's the vibe that I give off to my entire staff. So if there's a concern that's brought up or a programming idea that another organization has, that's something that we're going to pay a lot of attention to and try to make happen. So I think like collaboration is one of like the key parts to making sure that our organization continues to be inclusive and that we are really like practicing what our mission statement is.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee. Senator Najafi.
So I can speak to like why I thought Maureen would be great to continue leading WI. I think she as a person embodies their values. You kind of just see when you speak with her how knowledgeable she is about just their mission in general, but also the way she lives that out in her life. If you attend events like Take Back Tonight and Toronto Burke and those past events, Emma Solkowitz, you kind of see the environment that she builds with the vibe she gives off and how welcoming she is to everyone she talks to. And the kind of environment that she fosters is incredible, and it lets a lot of people feel comfortable and like they can speak forward, something that they might have held back in the past. And I think seeing her work, I'm very confident in her being director of WI.
Other discussion?
I move to approve her by consent. Second.
I hear a second. Any objection to confirming Maureen Smith to be the Women's Initiative Director? Seeing none, she is confirmed. Moving on to our next business item, to the confirmation of Emma Galasso to be the Founders Week Director.
Okay. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Emma Galasso. I'm a rising senior, broadcast journalism major, minor in marketing. I took a break from SG last semester. I went abroad. Definitely do it. It's my advice to all of you. So I would be honored to be confirmed to be your director of Founders Week for next year. Planning Founders Week and Founders Ball itself is a feat. And I believe that I am the most prepared to be in this role and be planning these activities. I started out my SG career in KPU. Started off freshman year as support staff and then went on to deputy director of internal management my sophomore year. I'm also an AU ambassador. I've had plenty of internships both in planning and PR and broadcast. And a few years ago, I actually worked with Martin Valderuin, who was the previous Founders Director, to make the Founders rollout video, the announcement video for the museum during my sophomore year. A few things that I want to focus on for next year is definitely more cohesiveness in events and activities during the week. I definitely think Founders Week has been overlooked in the past couple of years as to the events that have been held. Some ideas that I have next year are definitely looking at the real history of AU. Build a Club this past year was really lighthearted and sweet, and I hope that happens again. And then a community service event with Greek Life. I'm a proud member of a Greek organization, so I would really like to see our community come together in a service event during Founders Week. I know that the Founders game has traditionally been a men's game. This year, I hope to see it be a women's basketball game. I think their team has excelled in the past 2 years, and I really think that it's time for us to acknowledge, the prosperity of their program. In terms of fundraising, I know that this is something that is the highest place on my gamut for next year. It is a big event, and we want as many undergraduates there as possible, but that doesn't happen without money. So I'll be spending a lot of time this summer reaching out to alumni, talking to the administration about fundraising and where we start. I know that in CRP we were talking about what my first day initiatives were going to be, and that is to talk to student activities about where we currently stand in our budget and what they hope to see. Claude's Warehouse was an initiative that was started a few years ago. I would love to keep that going, but actually expand that to the greater campus community, not just for the purpose of founders, but for any students who feel as though they cannot financially afford clothing or accessories, and really work with faculty and staff to make that a permanent space on campus and extend it past founders. I cannot do this all alone, so I will be opening up applications for a committee, possibly having people directing fundraising and ticketing, having a social media liaison to work with Alex Bailey, your incoming secretary. And that's about it for me. I love planning events. I worked in the wedding events and corporate events business for 6 years before I came to AU. It's my first job. So I definitely know how to handle money, and I definitely know how to put on a kick-ass event. So thank you, and I'd be happy to take any of your questions at this time.
Questions for the nominee? Seeing none, if you wouldn't mind leaving the room.
Sure.
Discussion on the nominee. Senator Rakowski. Senator DeGoe.
She seems like a fantastic candidate. I liked a lot of the ideas she gave. I really believe that Founders Week is a great activity for all of campus and to focus on it as a whole, as opposed to just looking at Founders Ball. I think it's going to be great for campus next year. And I also trust Lilo with her appointments. So I motion to close debate and to accept the nomination with unanimous consent.
I hear a second. Is there any objection? Seeing none, she is confirmed. All right, let's bring the vice presidential nominees down here.
Yeah, I can sit over here. We're gonna space ourselves out because we're both reds.
Oh, no, that's easy. Okay. We'll swear in. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear.
I, Emma Galasso, do solemnly swear
that I will diligently and faithfully
that I will diligently and faithfully
execute the duties and responsibilities
execute the duties and responsibilities
of the office of, state your office,
of the office of Founders Week,
that I will abide by the governing documents
that I will abide by the governing documents
of the student government,
of the student government,
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
and I will work to my fullest abilities
to promote the interests and welfare
to promote the interests and welfare
of the students of American University.
of the students of American University.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Point of information.
You are all free now to go.
Point of information.
Yes.
Would be in order for me to motion for a 10-minute recess.
No.
No, fine. On such a good roll.
I mean,
Okay.
You're on such a good flip.
All right.
it's up to, okay.
I can't tell home.
Okay, moving to the confirmation of Shivani Soni to be the Associate Secretary for Design.
Hello again, everyone. Shivani is currently studying abroad in Madrid, so she unfortunately cannot be here in person. She submitted a statement, it's like 10 minutes long to read, so I'm not going to read it all, but she has experience doing graphic design for the library. So all like the posters that you see in the library, as well as the music library are hers. Like she made this all. She has experience making logos, specifically with AU in Motion. She has experience with Nourish, making all their marketing materials. So she's really qualified, and her interview and application was very impressive. So I can take any questions, I guess, but you can see her work, and I'm excited to have her on the team.
Questions that Alex might be able to answer? Seeing none, we'll move to discussion. Discussion on the nominee. Senator Rakowski.
I think it's clear she knows what she's doing, and I trust Alex with the nominees, so I'm gonna move to approve it.
I'm gonna second that.
And there's a second. Although, any objection? Seeing none, she is confirmed. Okay. I don't even know why I put that in there. Okay. All right. Moving to the end of the semester report from the Special Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I sent that out earlier in an email. Does someone want to? Sophia's not here, so
Yes,
Senator
please,
Zitzman.
I can speak on it. So the bylaws, when we made the Diversity and Inclusion Committee permanent in the 12th Senate, that was one of the last things we did in that Senate. We added in a provision that said that the committee had to produce a report at the end of every semester, just detailing what student government is doing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So our committee has been kind of touch and go in this semester. We've been trying to meet like 3 times, and normally like Sophia shows up and I show up, somebody else comes, but we can never really meet. So for that reason, this report isn't as extensive as I would have liked it to be, but I put it together and Saram looked over it and Sophia approved it, and it goes over those things that are listed on the introduction page, about 3/4 of a page approximately, average for each of them, just saying what they are, how they have been progressing, and what they will look like moving forward in the future.
Questions for Senator Zitzman? Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none. We'll move to adopt it. We'll move to vote on adopting it for student government, or for the Senate specifically. So all those in favor of adopting the spring 2018 DEI progress report, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, say nay. Progress report. Seeing none, we'll move to old business. First to Bill 1718-037, a bill to define and organize the Community Service Coalition. Senator Zitzman, would you like to speak on it?
Yep, so, I think all the information you need is in the background. The Community Service Coalition has been around for a few years, but it's not listed anywhere in writing. So this does that, first of all. It establishes it formally, and it moves it from the Vice President's cabinet, which is really focused on programming, to the President's cabinet, which is, of course, focused on advocacy and services. And this was an idea that now Vice President Duffy approached me with. So she approached me with the idea. So that's that.
Questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we'll move to discussion. Discussion on Bill 1718-037. Senator Najaffi.
So I had Bobby do it because I was going to be here last weekend. But pretty much it was originally in the president's cabinet, and then the president didn't want it there and said the VP should take it, and then we took it, but then we couldn't really do much with it because it's advocacy and we're entertainment focused. And so Valentina has a great initiative with it, and it's a part of her big plan for next year. So we thought it'd be better served in her cabinet. And then Angela wanted me to also comment on this because she had to leave, and she's also in the Community Service Coalition. And so she said that it has the potential to be something so important and relevant on campus, and that she hopes that we can make it bigger next year under Val's leadership. In addition, I think we need to amend it to put at the end of the quote, an end quote. Correct.
Oh, yeah.
An end quote and a period. So can
You take that as clerical.
Yes, move to amend that.
We're good. Further discussion? Senator Rakowski?
I think this is a straightforward bill. Yes, we're going to vote to approve by hand.
Second.
Is there a second? Any objection to adopting this? Hearing none, the bill is adopted. All right, moving to the next agenda item, Bill 1718-038, a bill to condemn anti-Semitism on American University's campus, which is this one. Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
Sure. So as we've said in the last Senate meeting, everyone I think was in agreement that it was a very comprehensive, very straightforward, and very detailed bill, so as to not only combat anti-Semitism on campus, but include training opportunities, so that people in student government and people on campus can really get endowed with the knowledge and tools needed to not only combat anti-Semitism, but be aware of their own place within its presence on campus. And so since it's already gone through committee, we've already heard from Senator Polinsky saying that if only minor changes were made so as to just make sure that the training aspect was more comprehensive. So with that said, if you guys have any questions, I would like you to direct them to Steph Black over here.
Am I also allowed to say something?
Will you yield your time?
I yield my time. Okay.
I just wanted to thank everyone once again who was involved in this and a part of this. I've been blown away by the amount of support and interest that you all have had for this bill. I had the privilege of being able to go to GW last night and witness some of what their campus is going through. And I want to say that it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the Jewish community at this campus that this is something that you are all taking an interest in. I'm really excited. I'm a hard person to push away, so I'm here. I'm ready to do this work with you. You can't get rid of me that easily, so I'm excited to go into the next semester with this training and with this work with you all. So thank you all for putting up with me. I appreciate it a lot. So.
Questions? Seeing none, we'll move to discussion. Discussion on Bill 1718-038. Senator Martin.
Just briefly, I really want to thank you for the work you're doing, and I think it's commendable that you're not even in the Senate, you're putting so much time and dedication to something like this.
Further discussion. See, Senator Fryer.
Saying that I think everyone is in agreement and everyone, I feel has a very high level of support for this bill and seeing how important it is to Jewish students on campus. I move to adopt this bill by unanimous consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Any objection to adopting Bill 038? Seeing none, it is adopted.
Point of information.
Yes.
It has Valentina's name at the bottom, but she won't be the one signing it. Because we passed it today, she's not technically president first.
Yeah, I'll change it if necessary, but given like tomorrow's the last day,
Okay.
it's depending on if, I guess, Yami wants to do it or if she wants to hand it off to Valentina to sign it. So, but that will change depending on what president decides to sign it. Okay, moving to our final business item, Directive 17-18-006, a directive to establish details for the undergraduate Senate identity training. Would the sponsor like to speak on the directive?
Yes, so this came out of a discussion that was had at the Campus and Student Life Committee when they were considering the anti-Semitism bill. I was there too, proxying for somebody. This is an effort to avoid the habit that student government has had to mandate training for individuals in student government along these lines, but then it either happening one time and then falling apart or just never happening in the first place. So that history, I think, is a result of a couple of things. First is that efforts were never like latched on to permanent things. So in this case, a permanent actor, which we now have in the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and a permanent avenue for the training to happen. And I hope it can be attached to the already existing Senate training that is that does have a successful history of being implemented. Also, I think another thing that has prevented successful training in the past is a lack of attention to detail. So this directive hopes to address those problems by giving a few months for the director to really hammer out the details of exactly what is going to happen. And the wording of the directive, what exactly is being directed, I tried to strike a balance between establishing specifics of what we want to be in the director's efforts while also leaving enough space for the director to do the work that is necessary to flesh out these details. So yeah, that's that.
Questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we'll move to discussion. Discussion on Directive 006. Seeing no discussion, we'll move to vote. Without objection. All those in favor of adopting Directive 17-18-006, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Repeating the chair, the yeas have it, and the directive is adopted. Any further old business? Seeing none. Move to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we move to good of the order. Any executives for the good of the order? Seeing none, we'll move to senators. Senators for the good of the order. Senator Zitzman.
So this CLP that I'll repeat that I am optimistic about the next year of student government because of the personnel that we put in this morning at the transition brunch and today, confirming all the directors and other positions. So I think since this is obviously, this organization is just a big group of people, the quality of people that we confirmed today speaks well for the next year of the organization.
Senator Martin.
I want to kind of echo what Bobby was saying and thank all the nominees for coming in. I'm too optimistic about the
the stuff that student government's gonna be doing next year.
Senator Najafi.
So this is my last Senate meeting in capacity as a senator, so I just want to say thank you everyone for this incredible year. I know we've had our ups and downs, but we're ending strong, and I'm so excited for our new cabinet and all of our new members to be joining us next year and for everything we're gonna do. So thank you for having me. Look forward to next year.
Other senators for the good of the order? Senator Rakowski.
It's also my last Senate meeting because I'm graduating after four long years in this hellish organization. I'm finally out. Thanks for letting me be a senator for the third time. It's my partner in crime always, Will. Thanks for, we weren't friends actually freshman year, so.
Thank you,
boy,
student
how things
government.
have changed. Thank you to all of you, and to Val, you're gonna be the best. Remember the days, the financial aid committee. Don't forget where you came from, girl. So thank you all. Try not to self-aggrandize yourselves. I promise you're not that important. Remember that. And don't stay in the government for 4 years. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Other senators for the good of the order. Senator DeGose.
As a slight rebuttal of that last point, while we may not be important, this body is hugely important. And the work that we all have done, and I believe will continue to do, is hugely important for the student body. So just as a final commendation of everyone here, thank you for all your work, and I hope we can continue it in the years to come.
Other senators for the good of the order. All right, a few quick things. One, y'all are making it seem like this is our last Senate meeting, and it's not. Because one, we have one on Friday, and two, those that are sticking around are going to be here in the fall, so don't leave, please. In regards to that, remember we have 2 events tomorrow, as I said before. The one with the ice cream social from 1:30 to 4. I'll be in the Senate office, and you should join me too. And then as well as the public forum, which is tomorrow from 7 to 9 in Don Myers 213. You all have the email. Please do come, because if I'm the only one standing up there in front of anyone, then it's not going to make me look bad. It's going to make y'all look bad, because the senators are supposed to be talking as well. That's just keep that in mind. And no office hours are required for the rest of the semester. Good luck with finals. I'm going to send out the Google form for your event attendance, because that's due as well for April. Please fill it out, because if you're on the border and you don't fill it out, then you're going to be suspended, and then I have to deal with that next semester, and I don't really want to. Oh gosh, what else? I wrote all this down. Oh, there's open positions. Those that are leaving us for higher positions, I expect your formal resignation soon. That way I can put out the open applications for your position. Tell your friends to apply. We have 2018, 2019, 2020, Campus at Large, and COGOT all open going forward. And we also have J-Board seats open, 4 actually, because they're all graduating. And we will most likely be confirming an elections commissioner this Friday. Not guaranteed, so don't quote me on that, but probably will happen. Wrapping it all up, congrats to everyone that was confirmed. Congrats to the new e-board that was sworn in this morning. I look forward to this upcoming year, and good luck on finals. I will see y'all Friday. No, tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, and then I'll see you Friday. And if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
Right.
Yes. I do. We'll go right in.
Will.